The following program is sponsored by Friends of Life Outreach International.
We get to do what we love. Sharing about Jesus, who heals us of everything. You know, when we're in Burma or Iraq or Syria, I've never had a Muslim in Iraq, because we're in the front line with them. And they see that and they go, oh, you must think that God believes that Iraqis and Americans are equal. You must think you don't want anything from us. You have your family here.
David Eubank and his family put themselves in danger to bring help, hope, and love to people caught in conflict areas. Next.
Welcome to Live Today. I'm Randy Robinson. Sheila Walsh is with me.
Hey.
And what a program we have for you today. In fact, a couple of years ago online, I interviewed a gentleman, our guest today, from Thailand. And I was like, is this whole Zoom thing going to work from Thailand? It did. And not only was it a fascinating interview, but it blew up. So I am thrilled to have David Eubank back and his wife Karen and son Peter. Welcome to Live Today.
Thanks for having us.
I watched that interview you did. Yeah, and I thought it was fascinating. And actually, you're in it. You don't even know you're in it, but you're getting a cup of coffee. So even as he's sharing, I'm pretty sure that's the wife's arm. Yes. But for those who don't know any of your story, can you take us back to when this fire was lit in your heart to see the world through Jesus' eyes?
Well, I was born in Fort Worth, Texas, 1960. My parents, oil man and Broadway singer, left those businesses, went to Thailand. So I was 9 months old growing up in Thailand. In a boarding school, because we lived out in the jungle, when I was 7 years old, I needed to know if God's real or not. And I said, Jesus, are you real? Help me, because mom and dad aren't there. That was the beginning. And then I went to Texas A&M University, was commissioned, Gagum Maggies, was commissioned in the Army Infantry. Then I was a Ranger and Special Forces officer for about 10 years. But God gave me an opportunity through a tribe in Burma in 1993 that said, come and help us. Burma's the longest running civil war in the world. Right now, 73 years. Come and help us. Karen agreed to marry me.
Did you know that Burma was on the head, was coming up?
Yes.
So when he said, will you marry me and do you want to go to Burma? What did you say?
I said, I'm not a translator or a doctor. What would I do in the mission field? Those were my only categories of missionaries. And he said, people just want to see if you live your life any differently as a Christian. Do you handle your problems differently? Do you deal with your joys and trials differently? Basically, live your faith. And I thought, well, I could do that. So it really revealed, wow, missions is everywhere. And so what happened in Burma was coming up.
Before we get to that, you mentioned, being in the military, and yet you talked about the missionary aspect. Is this something that's just been in your heart since you grew up?
I grew up as a missionary kid. When I was 5 years old, my dad fought in the Korean War, and they came back to the oil business. My mom was in the show business, and then they met. Well, I grew up in the jungle,
right,
out in Burma. In Thailand, just next to Burma. I remember when I was 5 years old, I was up behind our house, and I looked up at this blue sky, and I thought, one day I'll be a soldier, then I'll be a missionary.
Wow.
I thought, is that because I love my dad, was who I do? He's still alive.
Wow.
Dad's 93, mom's 90. They're evangelists in Thailand right now, 62 years. They don't stop.
Oh, my gosh.
But I had that feeling all along, even when I was in the Rangers.
Okay.
I thought, I thought about getting out and go to Fuller Seminary. But then my commander said, we need people like you in Special Forces. Rangers and Special Forces are part of this Special Operations community. They have two different jobs.
Right.
So I went to that. But finally, that call just kept coming, and I thank God for it, because we get to do what we love. Sharing about Jesus, who heals us of everything. You know, when we're in Burma or Iraq or Syria, I've never had a Muslim in Iraq, because we're in the front line with them. I was wounded 4 times there. We've had our own teammates killed right next to me. My kids are there, everybody's there. My daughters are driving an armored ambulance, the wounded. And they see that and they go, oh, you must think that God believes that Iraqis and Americans are equal. You must think you don't want anything from us. You have your family here. You brought your son, your most precious thing. I give you my country. You're like this. Any time we in the world share danger and sorrow with people, your neighbor, It's a bond forever.
Right.
So what I want to do is, Jesus, help me be a better evangelist and ambassador for you. And usually it goes something like this. We're here because Jesus sent us. Because this is not religion. This is a relationship with a supernatural God who sent his son to be with us on this earth, to show us our sins, to forgive us our sins, to give us purpose, to defeat the power of Satan and his demons, and lead us on. And one day when we die, which we all will, to go to heaven. We can afford to lose. That means we can afford to lose. You go for it. And this is what we share everywhere.
So tell me, how did Free Burma Rangers, what is that? How did it start and who joined with you?
Well, in '93, we're invited to Burma, this civil war. So we go in extra legally. Where we go in the fighting, no one's going to allow you to go in there. And as we're there with the people, number one, sharing the gospel. Number two, trying to help humanitarian any way we can, food, water, whatever we could do. People joined us, came to us and said, can we go with you? These are ethnic people. We're in their hands. It's not, oh, I'm an American, I'm going to go into a foreign country and run things. No way. They run their own thing.
Sure.
You're in their hands. But can we join you? And the first people I got the champion kickboxer of Burma, who drank a ton and had many other obvious sins. I had a phenomenal medic. I had an agnostic, atheist video guy who was scared of everything. I had a murderer. What I mean by murder, he ran guns, and one time with a truckload of guns, he ran over a pedestrian at night and then backed over him to make sure he killed him.
Oh.
And then I had a spirit worshiper. These are the first guys to join me. Tough as nails, though, all of them. Yeah. They're like little hobbits, like Daniel Boone, Davy Crockett, little hobbits. And we're in the jungle, and one by one, they became Jesus people. The spirit worshiper said, Jesus keeps coming to me in dreams, telling me to cut my spirit rings off and follow him. What should I do?
Wow.
Do it, man. Up to you. And then the monkey, that's his name, he's our chief chaplain. He said, he challenged God, are you real or not? And he has his own funny story how he becomes not only a follower of Jesus, our chaplain. And then Ilya, the kickboxer, changes his life because of Jesus. And the murderer, he said it took him a year to even go to church. He wasn't worthy until Jesus purified him. That's who we started with. Then ethnic leaders in Burma, because there's many tribes in Burma fighting the dictators, said, can you make teams like this? Because they love people, they have no rules. If there's fighting, they go. We've lost about 40 of our team killed, which is heartbreaking. You know, one thing I learned in Fuller the first day from Chuck Kraft, you can live well with sorrow, you can't live with sin.
Wow.
And Jesus takes away our sin, and then we help share each other's sorrow, because that's about love. So I have a lot of sorrow. I could cry easy. But that's how we started, because the people invited us. Later on, when ISIS started in the Middle East, people said, hey, you guys don't have any rules about front lines. Can you bring your Burmese people and help us under attack in Iraq and Syria? And that's how we went.
How many countries have you been in now?
Well, we only work in Burma, Iraq, Syria, and then when Afghanistan fell apart, we went to Tajikistan to help the Afghans.
So just the worst of the worst.
And Sudan.
Okay, well, Karen, how do you handle that? How do you take your family into these very dangerous areas?
You know, I think God opened up a way for us to go as a family in the very beginning. It was through relationships, because we'd met people who invited us into their lives. And so bringing our family was sort of like going to a family's house, going to a family reunion. And then as the kids got older, I felt God said, these are amazing opportunities I have to teach your kids, if you can put them in this ministry, compassion and hospitality and generosity and simplicity. It was as if God said, these are amazing things. Don't look at the danger, look at the amazing things I have for you. So it was never a childhood of deprivation. Yeah. It was, look at these amazing things I can give you.
The thing that I think is incredible about that is by bringing your whole family, you're saying, we're all in. You know, we're all in. So, Peter, 16 years old.
Yes, ma'am.
Talk to me about what that life has been like for you.
It's been a very gifted and wild life in Burma, riding my horse through the jungle with my monkey and helping
Just
drive.
like any other 16-year-old.
First time that's ever been said on Life Today.
Wow.
Helping drive Humvees in Syria and Iraq. So,
are you ever afraid?
Oh, yeah. When we get shelled or Burma Army is coming, or when you're in a situation, if you don't know it's going to be good or not, you just pray to God that he will help you, and he does.
Dad talked about, at 5 years old, looking up and having this clear picture of what God was calling him to do. Have you had any of that in your own life?
I have not. I've had an idea to replicate my dad in going to Texas A&M in college and then probably the Army and then back to being a missionary with my family, but still praying about it. I don't know yet.
Wow.
And you got your driver's license in a Humvee now. So.
Yes, sir. Driver's license counts for most vehicles.
You know, I've got 4 children. Sheila has a son. I struggle just letting them drive on Texas roads. You know, you want to protect your kids. How do you have peace in the middle of war, knowing your children are there?
Well, Karen, you can fill in, or Pete. Before we had any kids, we were already in Burma, in the fighting. And when Karen was pregnant, we thought, can we live with ourselves, with each other, with God, if we bring our child to Burma and they die? Sickness is the most likely, then getting shot. That's actually second. We thought, no, not without Jesus we can't.
Yeah.
And then Karen said, we shouldn't be led by the what ifs that can happen. They're all real, but they're what ifs. What are the opportunities God gives you? And I think for all of us in the world, we're always scared, at least I am, of the what ifs. They're real.
Yeah.
But what is the opportunity? You know, in the 23rd Psalm, the Lord is my shepherd. All the good things are happening. Then he's going through the valley of the shadow of death. He gets through it. Now he's at this table with all these good things, but it's the presence of his enemy. So they're still there. God doesn't take our enemies away.
Wow.
So that means keep your eyes on Jesus. Keep your eyes on what God gives you. That stuff's real. That's not your focus. You just drive on. And I remember once in a heavy fighting in Syria, because we also work there, we were asked, and we do this a lot, hey, our 3 guys are shot there across this, but Syria has no trees, at least not where we are. Wow. Go help those guys that are shot. Well, it's open ground, and they have anti-tank systems and machine guns, and just, we're like, I'm going to die going there. And I pray, and I'm saying, oh, Lord, help me, protect us, help us do this. And I felt God say, Dave, calm down, get used to it. You're going to ask me for help again tomorrow. Don't act like this is the only time. You know how it is, like, God, help me just this one time. No, you're going to need my help every day. Just ask for it. If I send you, I'm with you. Go. And I was like, okay. But my faith is like that thin. But what I've seen is when we say, Jesus, I want to do this, but I give it up. What do you want me to do? Yeah. Then it's going to be risky, but it's not gambling. Because I'm not saying, God, I'm going to do this, bless me. It's like, I think this is what you want, but I'm giving it back. And we do that as a family. And so as the kids were born and carried into Burma with us, the ethnics are like, it's no big deal to them because they have their kids there. Every wars are not video games. Yeah. Tattooed, that's not war. War is always families involved, always. And so our kids have grown up seeing people shot, and then how do they react? What if that was your mom and your daddy? What if it was your brother and sister? I better pray for them. It's not, So if you're in Dallas or anywhere in the U.S., you see someone in a car crash or a homeless person in trouble, if you just stop and pray, Lord, should I go? Because you don't know if you should or not. Should I go? What if that was my sister? What if that was my brother? That love will go, oh, I can go. So that's how our kids have grown up, and I thank God they're alive. I haven't been tested that way, although all 3 almost died on missions, which was brutal. But I thank God they weren't.
There was a rescue of a 6-year-old that it was a touching story. I'd love to hear it, love the audience to hear it.
So this story it's the Battle of Mosul. Burma's our main area, but we've taken our ethnics from Burma into Iraq. Well, the only reason we can work with the Iraqis is because they let us. And I remember the Iraqi commander, he first saw me, he hated me. Because I was an American. We fought those guys. And later on, he said, I asked God to save my country, and he sent the worst 2 things, an American Christian. And then he said, at the end of the battle, which is almost 9 months, he says, go back and tell the Americans we love you. Please love us. Thank you for showing us what it means to follow Jesus. This is a Muslim general. Anyway, because of these relationships, we're in the front line with the troops. Karen and the kids are back at a casualty collection point out of the direct fire. They can get mortared, but they're out of the direct shooting. My daughters are driving armored ambulance back and forth. I'm in the front with my team, which one of them died and 4 of us were wounded. So it's cost. I lost 30 close Iraqi friends killed. I felt this cone of sorrow. Well, towards the end of the battle, ISIS was forced into what's called the old city and one little part of the northernmost bridge. And that's all that was left. And they were like a snake lashing out. And now they're killing civilians. And we came around the corner, one street, they're shooting all the, and I see what turned out to be 150 dead people. People in wheelchairs getting shot in the wheelchair, babies with bullet holes in their heads, in swaddling clothes like a month old. Every man, woman, and child, all dead. And we see these bodies, we can't get to them. And then we see movement. Hey, there's kids. There's actually 7 kids. One by one, they're killed. We can't even get across this road. Anybody gets across is shot. How do you save this kid? And I'm praying, and I call back to my chaplain, Paul Bradley, hey, pray. And then he prays. My daughter's next to me bringing the ambulance. She prays, and I felt, this is the power of prayer. I felt something break and go, we're going to do it. I don't know how, but we're going to do it. And I called the Americans. That's a whole other story of relationships. Why would the American give an ex-Army guy, out of the Army now almost 20 years, on my unsecured cell phone, smoke? He said, I'm a Jesus guy first, follow Jesus first, America second, Army next, me last. Wow. We're going to do it. So they dropped high content white phosphorus, huge smoke, but it can burn you too. It's dangerous. They dropped it, made a screen. I asked the Iraqi commanders for tanks. They said no. So I grabbed his hand and I said, please tell this commander what to do. I don't know what to do. Tell him what to do in Jesus' name, Yeshua name, Messiah's name, Isa name. He goes, 1 tank. So we ran behind that tank. We get there, and the whole time I thought, I'm dead. I'm dying today, but my wife and kids will understand I did it for love. I ran out and I grabbed that kid. I had to pull her off her dead mother. She's the only kid that lived because he's hiding under her dead mother. We get her out. Her name is Demoa, it means tear. And we were able to get her out. It was a huge team effort. The Americans dropping smoke, the Iraqis trusting us and risking their lives in that tank. My team around me, my family just outside that, people praying. We got that little girl out, later reunited her with her grandmother. And she said, I was in Baghdad, I knew my family was in trouble, and God showed me a vision. This is a Muslim. And I saw my granddaughter dead under my daughter, which was how it was. And everybody's dead in the street. And it was an evil stream between them and the land of the living. And a gigantic being, a man, but flashing eyes, white robe, shining hair, stepped across that chasm and picked my granddaughter up.
My God.
And I said, that was Jesus. And he sent us. And you know, whoever watches this, Jesus will send you and go with you. You don't have to be anything except obedient and willing. So it wasn't our power, it was Jesus' power. And all of us together are able to be part of something. Someone said, oh, you're superheroes. We're not superheroes. There were 6 other kids killed. We couldn't even save them. We got one with God's help and everyone else's. So that's that story.
Yeah, what a
There's
rescue.
so much more to your story. So how can people get in touch with you? If people want to contact your family, support your family, how do they get in touch with you?
Our website, freeburmarangers.org.
Okay.
Contact y'all.
Yeah, and there's a movie,
There's a documentary.
I bought it
You
on
get
Prime. It's
on
amazing.
Amazon.
Yeah, you can get it on Amazon Prime.
Oh, stories of rescue.
Wow, yeah. Which...
You have a word you want to put in?
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for having us.
Oh gosh, what an honor, absolute honor. And you know, here at Life, one of the words that's most important to us is rescue. And as Randy mentioned, we work with sex trafficking to help those children who think there's no hope. But we know that where Jesus is, there's always hope. And you can help us. I want to ask you to watch something, and then I'll tell you how you can do that. Watch this. I just wanted to explain why, with this particular little girl, that we're not showing her face. She's 11 years old, and so we want to do everything we can to protect her. So when you were just 9 years old, something terrible happened to you one night. Why don't you tell us about that?
ពេលគាត់ចាប់ខ្ញុំទៅគាត់ថានៅថ្ងៃបាត់ទៅផ្ទះវិញទេទៅខ្ញុំថាហើយចោលមានណាមកប្អូនខ្ញុំអីគាត់ថាបើចង់ទៅផ្ទះវិញឲ្យទៅហៅម៉ែឲ្យមកយកហើយកាលហ្នឹងម៉ែខ្ញុំរត់តាមប្រុសទៀតខ្ញុំនឹកមួយបោះប្អូន5នាក់គាត់លេងក្រៅឲ្យទៅពេលនេះទៅខ្ញុំឃើញយាយខ្ញុំជិះម៉ូតូទៅខ្ញុំស្រីហើយយាយខ្ញុំថ្ងៃខ្ញុំដើរហែកចាយពេលជប់ឡើងអត់ហើយបានទៅខ្ញុំខ្លាចគេចាប់ទៅខ្ញុំមកផ្ទះហើយពេលថ្ងៃណាខ្ញុំរត់បានប្អូនខ្ញុំដេកអត់បាយខ្លាចគេចាប់យកខ្ញុំទៅធ្វើបានម្ដងទៀត
I'm horrified by her story. And the tragedy is she's not the only one. there are so many girls. And here's what I think. If we don't defend her, if we don't say no to those vicious predators, and trust me, they are very well organized and they are very well funded. So we've got to get organized. We've got to get funded. It's time to let our righteous anger rise to the surface. There's some things that we can say, well, that's not good, but this is evil. This is absolutely evil from the pit of hell, and we cannot abandon these beautiful children who are longing to know that there's at least one person on this planet who cares for them. I want her to know it's you and it's me, and we're going to fight for them in Jesus' name. I'll never forget that girl. Janice, our photographer, and I got to spend the whole day with her. She is the breadwinner for her family because of all these tragic circumstances. You know, when you're very, very poor and someone in your family gets sick, then you go to somebody to get a loan to get medicine, and then they up the price and you can't pay it. And that's why so many of these girls end up in these devastating situations. And she was out at night just collecting cans, you know, like at midnight, 1 o'clock, when all the bars are throwing the cans of beer out. And if you get 8 cans together, it's like a quarter. And that's where she was taken and locked up in a room. And I remember saying to her, or actually I think it was to her friend, did you ever see a moment when you could escape? And she said, you don't understand. The man told me, I know where you live, and I know you've got younger sisters. And if you leave, I'm going after them. Can you imagine that kind of choice a young girl has to face? So I promised her that we would come home and tell her story. As long as we are alive in this day, we are Jesus' boots on the ground. I mean, the evil is very well organized. We have to be even more passionately committed. If she lived next door to you, you would do everything. We're bringing her right next door to you. And you can do something. And Randy, if we all get involved, we can bring some hope and some help.
We do. We have. Thanks to you, we've done it. But it is a complex situation in a lot of cases. It requires a coordinated effort. It requires people on the ground. It requires a place to go for healing, a place to go for training. There's a long process here. It's not just getting someone off the street in a single night. So when we look at it, we look at reaching, at rescuing, and restoring these young girls. And we can only do that with your help. Now, we do this year-round. We never stop. But this is the last week that you will see this on television during this campaign. And during this campaign, we have a $320,000 matching gift grant that has been made available to us. We want you to help us complete that goal, reach as many as we can. I'd like to blow right by it and expand this outreach because the need is great. So here's the way it breaks down. Normally it costs, on average, $128 to reach, rescue, or restore one child. Through the matching grant, your $128 gift today will help us reach, rescue, or restore 2 children. Many of you could do more than that. $128 is wonderful for reaching 2, but if you can give, say, $1,280, then that would reach 20. But here's my prayer. Give the best gift you can. Give out of obedience, out of compassion, out of a willingness to say, yes, Lord, what I have is yours, and I want to be that representative on earth that Sheila talked about. Will you go to the phone or go online right now? Make the best gift you can. Let's hit that goal. Let's go past that goal. Let's reach as many as we can. Do it today.
Innocent children and young people longing to be loved and cared for are being abducted and sold at the hands of violent predators, forced into the evil industry of human trafficking. Through Mission Rescue Life, you can reach out to warn children who are at risk for sex trafficking, rescue those already enslaved, and restore young lives and give them a future. With a generous $320,000 matching gift, now your gift of $128 to help reach, rescue, or restore one child can be doubled to help 2 children. Your $64 gift will be matched to help save one child from the horrors of human trafficking. And a $32 Mission Rescue gift will be doubled to $64. With your gift today, we'll send you I Hear His Whisper, Each entry in this beautiful 365-day devotional will encourage you with words of comfort, joy, and love as you encounter God's heart and hear His gentle voice. With a gift of $128 or more, you'll receive What Does Your Jesus Look Like? This captivating book by sculptor Scott Stearman shares compelling stories and beautiful images, revealing how we can be the image of Christ to a watching world. Finally, please consider a gift of $1,280, which will now help save 20 children, and you may request our inspiring bronze sculpture, Let the Children Come. This is the last week. Please call, write, or make your gift online.
I do hope you're going online or going to the phone right now. Together, we can do it. We can rescue so many, but we have to have your support. And Sheila, you know, today has been just eye-opening. I love
amazing.
these members of our team to help people.
Karen, I just wanted to ask you, because I'm thinking about kids, jungle. It's just like, it's not your normal, you know, kind of scenario. Do you have any memories that stick with you more than others?
I do, and I think it was from a time when the situation was difficult in a village that we visited very often. It was sort of another family village, per se, and we spent many Christmases there. But at this point, Burma Army was active, and you could hear mortars going off in the distance, and I had 3 little kids, and I never quite knew what the situation, it just felt precarious. And I remember praying, Lord, I wish I could just bubble wrap my kids and protect them from anything that might happen. And I felt him say, well, you could, and then you would insulate them from me as well.
Wow.
Don't I have a chance to call out to them?
Wow.
Don't I have a place in their heart where they can come to me with their fears, their concerns? You've done everything right. You've done everything that I called you to do. This is a situation that's out of your control. I think we can all relate to that as moms. Like, how did I get here? And then he says, this is where I step in. Do you really want to solve all their problems? And you realize, no, Jesus is the answer. And then that they would take that knowledge that Jesus is with them into every situation that they have, as well as all of us, even in America. So I pray that for my kids. I pray that for all of our children.
Yeah, what a testimony, what an outreach. Karen, David, Peter Eubank, thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And don't forget, freeburmarangers.org.
Yep, and we'll see you again next time.
Bye.
Give your life to your Father, the one who'll help you see, won't leave you recklessly. Come to me, I'll be your refuge, hide under my wings.
And there is a mystery that goes back to the Bible, goes back to the ancient tablets of Mesopotamia, goes back to the gods.
Jonathan Kahn, next week. Life Today is made possible by the supporters of Life Outreach International. Your gift will be used exclusively for the exempt purposes of life. The ministry features specific outreaches as examples of the programs it supports and conducts. Gifts are considered to be without restriction as to use unless explicitly stipulated by the donor. The ministry is a member of the ECFA.